Next thing we'll start the symposium, my worst complication. Dr. Bian Pinto.
With rotablation. The first one is how I got out of trouble because of rotablation. This is a situation where I used rotablator for in-stent restenosis. I was fortunate to be the one trained by Dr. Nicholas Reifert way back in '92 when we did the Airbach trial and showed that actually rotablation did not have any significant benefit over angioplasty for most cases, and therefore actually the rotablator fell into some amount of disrepute. But all of us know that we must have the rotablator on standby in our labs in some situations. Now, this was a patient who actually had a stent which was put in somewhere in 1998, a bare metal stent, and he went to a cath lab in another city to get the angioplasty done of his lesion in the left anterior descending artery. And after multiple dilatations with high pressure balloons and multiple dilatations even with the Flexstone and the cutting balloons that were used, the results were inadequate. So we then took in a rotablator through the transradial approach, and we were able to get a 1.5 burr down the segment which was not opening up. With this, after doing the rotablation for this particular lesion, we were then able to take a balloon, and unfortunately I don't have the visual of that, but we were able to show that we were able to open up the vessel and then give an excellent result. I'll just show you that again. After getting the rotablation down, then the balloon, and then a stent right down at the bottom of this particular situation where we got an excellent result. So the point that I need to make over here is that for all cases of in-stent restenosis, you certainly do not need a rotablation. But in certain situations where you have a stent because of the very severe kind of fibrotic lesion that may not open up with whatever method that you have, the rotablator will allow you to create some amount of plaque change, some amount of change in the plaque and reduce the resistance for a good balloon dilatation. We still had to go up to about 24 atmospheres to break this particular lesion, but this happened after the rotablation. So I think it's important in in-stent restenosis to sometimes have the rotablator with you. Now, unfortunately, these were some of the slides which I had made many years back, but this is for a stuck burr situation. This was a situation in which we went I don't have the picture, I have only the pictures and I don't have the films, but this was a situation in which we were coming back on Dynaglide from the rotablator, and the rotablator burr got stuck in the lesion. While Dynagliding back, the rotablator burr got stuck. Now what do you do in that situation? You're really stuck. The patient is hemodynamically sometimes becomes unstable. So what we thought is that we will pass a wire, another wire across the lesion, and that's what we did. We passed another wire across the lesion, took I can't remember, I think it was a 1.5 balloon. We took a 1.5 balloon, inflated the balloon at the site where the rotablator burr was stuck, and with that we were able to yank back both the rotablator wire and the balloon, and we got something like that. Then we went ahead and we were able to take care of this lesion at a later stage. But it's important to realize that if you get stuck in the lesion with the rotablator, it's important for you to be able to extract. And sometimes in the lesion, even if you start the pressure, actually the burr temperature goes up a lot. And I have seen a number of people who have tried to do rotablation in those situations where the burr actually gets burnt. So you can be very badly stuck in that situation. Do not try to do that, because the rotablator will not move forward, it will not move back. The best thing for you to do at that time is to pass a wire across, take a small balloon, open up that lesion further, because you've already worked on it. It usually gets stuck in a situation when you're pulling the burr back. And sometimes you may get it when you're dynagliding back. When you're dynagliding back, your rotations are much lower. They are half the rotations that you have without dynaglide. So that's a situation in which you can use this particular technique. This was another slide. Unfortunately, once again, don't have the running images, but you can see a severely calcified situation where we went ahead and did ballooning first. After the ballooning, we did not clearly get an adequate result. Maybe we should have used a Flexstone or a cutting balloon at that time, but we went ahead with a stent. And even after putting in the stent, you can see that we did not get and achieve an adequate result. In fact, the stent was not expanded adequately. Now what do you do when you have an unexpanded stent? You went to high pressure, you went in with a high pressure balloon again, you still don't have the situation. So we took a rotablator then down into, you can see an unexpanded stent over here at this particular site. And we took a rotablator down, rotablated across this stent. So we cut some of the rotablator kind of lesion over there because this was not a totally implanted. So, and then we went ahead with another stent. We put another stent in and inflated this at high pressure. And then we got an angiographic picture like this after we put in a second stent. So you can see over here the IVUS picture after the second stent implantation. So I think the rotablator has its niche position in many situations where you can get into trouble, and sometimes you need to get out of trouble. Out of trouble, you have to be clear on your feet, think carefully that you can have a problem, but the rotablator can help you. The rotablator can also get you into trouble, but if you keep a clear mind, most often you can get out of it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Priyan, in time. You saved almost 4 minutes. Good. I think we have till time for discussion. A couple of questions can be asked from audience.
See, one thing you must realize is that, first of all, do not go with a larger size burr right in the beginning. Try to go with a smaller size burr. Always, when you're getting forward and back, use the pecking action most of the time, and you won't get so stuck. The other way that we do it is to increase the rotational speed. But sometimes when you increase the rotational speed, you can generate a lot of heat out over there, and then you may get into a bit of trouble. So one of the ways that we have found is to increase the rotational speed. But sometimes you may be stuck with doing this, and it just doesn't move. Then this is one of the techniques.